He discovered his inexplicable ex-wife, transformed into a MOM of sextuplets, an incredible reveal. Jake Thompson gazed out from the grease-stained window of his modest Ohio garage, trying to untangle the overwhelming knot in his chest. He was a hard worker, a reliable mechanic in a town that valued sweat over dreams. But deep down, he felt like a shadow of the promising athlete he once was. It wasn't he just a wrench in hand or the nagging sense of mediocrity that left him uneasy. It was the other life, the one he never fully embraced when he returned home to help his struggling family. Then, that day came. He stepped out for a breath of fresh air into the sunny afternoon, only to stumble quite literally into Sarah. There she was, his high school sweetheart and ex-wife, juggling 6 tiny bodies that gurgled and squirmed in a nearby park. His heart dropped. It was surreal. How had they ended up here, worlds apart? As he approached, he caught the sparkle in her tired eyes. She smiled, but was a fleeting effort, shadowed by unspoken burdens. Jake noticed the faint lines of exhaustion tracing her face, the unruly hair pulled into a messy bun. She appeared to juggle multiple baskets of joy and despair, an overwhelmed mother. Yes, but easy to see the warmth beneath her fatigue. "Jake, is that you?" she gasped, confusion mingled with disbelief. "Hey, Sarah," he managed, each syllable breaking the dam of nostalgia. Memories flooded him like a rushing river, school dances, shared laughter, brief moments of happiness that consumed their lives. He stepped closer to help, awkwardly but earnestly, needing to feel the sense of purpose that eluded him. Together, they wrangled the kids, a colorful chaos of limbs and giggles. The sound merged into something beautiful, yet terrifying. Could he just slip back into her life, or would he be yet another burden? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. The days that followed turned into a blur. Jake started dropping by, fixing bikes, offering a hand with groceries, all while they secretly hoped the tension wouldn't spill over. The unhealed wounds from their split scratched at the edges of freshly revived friendship. He saw how easily society judged her, the whispers of she must be done something wrong echoing in his ears. But those children, their laughter melted his heart. Yet, each laugh tore at Sarah's nerves, too. The pressure to be perfect suffocated her, fracturing her spirit under the weight of expectations. Jake could sense when the smiles turned brittle, when her frustration turned to tears. He tried to hold his own feelings at bay: love, regret, longing, everything contorted into the knot tightening in his chest. The two couldn't ignore the past forever. In a moment of heightened emotions, Sarah looked straight at him, and the air around them seemed to pulse with unresolved history. "What do you want, Jake?" It was more a plea than a challenge that he swallowed hard. "I just want to help and maybe find a way back to what we had." Could they stand together amidst the chaos, or was it too late? A flicker of hope ignited, but as uncertainty loomed, Jake knew they had to confront their past for the future to hold any promise. Would they find a path forward or burn down everything again? The sun dipped low in the sky, casting a warm orange glow over the park as Jake leaned against the old swing set, intentions tangled in the air. Each day, he learned more about Sarah's new life, soaking in the laughter and joy of her sextuplets, yet with it came the haunting weight of their shared history. He watched the kids scurry around, their giggles filling the air like sweet music, and for a moment, he wished he could seize that joy and keep it close, but doubt still reigned in his heart. "I didn't expect to see you here so often," Sarah said one afternoon, pushing a baby stroller adorned with colorful toy animals. She tried to sound lighthearted, but Jake could sense the slight strain in her voice. "Yeah, I guess I'm just around," he replied, trying to mask his uncertainty with a casual shrug. Beneath the surface, He felt a hurricane of emotions swirling. They sat together on the outskirts of the playground, his heart racing in time with the children's playful shouts. It was then that Jake noticed something on her wrist, a delicate bracelet that glimmered in the fading light. Nice bracelet. Got a story? He gestured towards it, finding the mundane a welcome distraction from the tension. Sarah hesitated, glancing down at the shimmering piece. Oh, it's nothing special, just a gift from a friend. Keeps me grounded, I suppose. Her voice softened, and she met his gaze, a flicker of vulnerability shimmering in her eyes. Grounded, huh? Sounds like you have a lot on your plate to keep you that way, he remarked. The hint of concern creeping in. A faint laugh escaped her lips, but it was tinged with sadness. You have no idea, Jake. Some days feel like I'm just clinging to the edges, running on empty. You're doing an amazing job, Sarah, he urged, sincerity lacing his words. Her smile faltered, and she looked away. Thank you, but it's tough. I didn't expect to be doing this all alone. Her voice trailed off, revealing cracks in her armor. I can't shake the feeling that I'm failing, that I'm not enough for them. Jake felt a surge of protectiveness. You're everything to them. They adore you, and you're not failing. Life didn't come with a manual. He leaned closer, a warmth spreading through him at her quiet strength. Their eyes locked, and in that moment, the silence seemed electric, charged with unspoken words. He wanted to reach out, to bridge the gap that had grown between them. But what would that mean? Burdening her with his feelings again? Sarah broke the tension with a nervous laugh, but her gaze betrayed her. You know, it's funny. I thought when things fell apart, I'd never see you again. Yet, here we are, and it feels almost right. Jake's breath caught, right? The word echoed with promise. Maybe it's a chance to rewrite our story. Before more could spill from his lips, a shriek of joy broke through the air as one of the sextuplets tumbled into Sarah's lap, all giggles and chubby cheeks. She scooped the child up, and a spark flickered in her tired eyes. But that spark was quickly dulled by the impending shadows of their past. Just as Jake opened his mouth to say more, the heavy drumming of a storm thundered in the distance, masking his words. The skies began to darken, reflecting the uncertainty swirling within him. Looks like rain, Sarah said, an invisible barrier rising again. We should probably head back. As they gathered the kids and prepared to leave, Jake's heart raced. What if this was all he'd get? Could he risk everything for another chance? Or would he be caught in the storm of yesterday once more? With their fate hanging in the balance, they walked side by side, an uncharted path stretching before them. The rain began to fall, mingling with the laughter of children, a chaotic melody of hope and hesitation. What awaited them on this pathway they had both stepped into? As they rushed toward the car, the first drops of rain splattered against the pavement, mixing with the joyful screams of the children. Sarah's laughter danced on the wind, but Jake could feel the tightness in her smile. Come on, let's get you all buckled in, Sarah called, trying to herd the kids toward the minivan. Jake helped, lifting a giggling toddler who had decided that a game of tag was more appealing than getting inside. Their eyes met for a fleeting moment, and an unspoken bond flickered between them. But reality loomed large. Distant memories beckoned like shadows breaking into the sunlight. Once inside, the cramped space buzzed with excited chatter and the clatter of toys. Rain hammered down, washing away the last remnants of the day's golden glow. Each raindrop felt like a little reminder of the weight of their circumstances, but there was also magic in the air, like the world held its breath, waiting for a new chapter to unfold. Jake, can you pass me a juice box? Sarah's voice pulled him back into the moment. He turned to reach for one, but as their hands brushed against each other, a spark of connection surged, strong and undeniable. His heart raced, thoughts tumbling over one another. Yeah, sure, he mumbled. The contact sent a rush of warmth through him, igniting questions he had buried deep within. The atmosphere grew thick with the tension of all that was left unsaid and all that could be. Once the kids settled down, Sarah turned to him, her expression more serious than it had been before. You know, it's really nice to have you around. It's comforting. Comforting. The word carved its way into Jake's heart. I want to help, Sarah. If you ever need, I'm here. She nodded slowly, the corners of her mouth lifting slightly, but sadness lingered in her eyes. Sometimes I feel like I'm just surviving, you know? I wonder if I made the right choices. I get that, Jake said, a knot forming in his throat. But you're not alone. You never were. The words hung in the air, heavy with promise, but they were haunted by the echoes of their past and the weight of responsibility. Sarah shifted in her seat, her gaze drifting out the window as the rain cascaded down like it was trying to wash away the complexities of their lives. Remember that summer when we went camping? She asked, a distant smile touching her lips. That ridiculous tent that collapsed? Of course, how could I forget? Jake laughed, tension easing just a fraction. You were convinced you could make a fire out of wet sticks. Hey, I had faith, she retorted, laughter sparkling in her eyes anew. But suddenly, the laughter dimmed, and an uncomfortable silence fell between them. The reality of her current life pressed down like the rain falling outside. The weight of her 6 little ones, so unique, so demanding, showed in her tired smile. Jake, she hesitated, searching his eyes. Do you think I'll ever be enough? For them, for myself? The sincerity of her question pierced him. You are more than enough, Sarah. You're their world. But what if that world is too much? The doubt spilled over, her voice trembling uncharacteristically. What if I can't be that for them? His heart ached for her struggle. You're stronger than you think. I've seen it. You're doing an amazing job. She looked away, fiddling with the bracelet on her wrist again, a circle of hope against uncertainty. I just can't shake the feeling that I'm missing something. The weight of unsaid words hung between them again, a storm brewing outside that mirrored the tempest inside. As the rain pounded harder, nearly drowning out the chatter of the kids, Jake felt something shift within him. Was this the moment he'd been waiting for, a chance to finally step back into her life, but with new intentions? You're not missing anything, Sarah, he said, his voice firm. Maybe it's just about starting anew. Just as he finished speaking, the storm erupted outside, a thunderous crash shaking the minivan. Startled, the kids squealed, and Jake glanced at Sarah, whose eyes reflected both fear and undeniable determination. As lightning illuminated the darkening sky, Jake made a decision, a dangerous but invigorating one. Sarah, he said, urgency creeping into his voice. What if we figured this out together? For you, for the kids, for us? Sarah's breath hitched, and in that moment, amidst the chaos and the falling rain, possibilities roared like the storms swirling outside. What if this was a chance to truly rebuild? Or would the tempest of their past tear them apart once again? The rain continued to pour in relentless sheets, but the laughter of the children brought a flicker of warmth to the chilly moment. Jake could hear the thunder rumbling overhead, but it paled in comparison to the thunderous feelings crashing through his heart. He could see the uncertainty in Sarah's eyes and wanted nothing more than to shield her from all the worries that clung like a stubborn storm cloud. Jake, she began, voice barely rising above the clamor of the rain drumming against the roof. I have to think about the kids, too. They deserve stability. Stability. The words sunk deep into his chest. Could he even promise that? He could feel the weight of her gaze, searching for answers. What if stability could start with us? The words were out before he could second-guess himself. The silence stretched thick again, as if the world around them had collapsed into a hush, save for the patter of rain. Jake's mind raced with thoughts. Memories rushed in long, lazy summers spent together. The wild-eyed girl who clung to his arm with dreams of the future. What happened to that girl? And what exactly was left of her? But as Sarah shifted in her seat, her brow furrowed in contemplation, he realized she wasn't just the girl from long ago anymore. She was a resilient mother, faced with challenges beyond what he could fully comprehend. Her entire being seemed woven together from strands of both joy and heartache, a tapestry of strength. Jake, she started after a moment that felt like an eternity. It sounds so easy, trying to build something, but what if we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment? He held her gaze. What if we don't? What if this is our chance? The way you are with the kids, it's incredible. Sarah, they look at you like you're their whole universe. She looked out the window, her expression softening. I just don't want them to feel what I felt growing up. Left behind unloved. Your love is palpable, he replied, instinctively placing a hand on hers, giving it a gentle squeeze. You're already giving them everything they need. But what about you? What do you need? This time, it was Sarah who hesitated, sitting back against the seat and crossing her arms. I don't know, Jake. I really don't. Everything feels heavy, like I'm carrying this weight, and I don't know where to put it down. Jake felt his heart clench in recognition. He wanted to offer her comfort, but he knew he couldn't fix everything for her. Maybe you don't have to carry it all alone. A hint of a smile touched her lips, like the sun peeking out from behind clouds. You really think you could be here for us? For me and the kids? Yes, he affirmed without breaking eye contact. I'm ready to be part of your world, if you'll let me. We could figure out together as a family. A soft gasp escaped her lips, the weight of possibility weaving into the atmosphere of the cramped van. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the room for just an electric moment, and Jake caught a glimpse of hope reflected in her eyes. But something in the depth of her gaze made him hesitate. What if I fail them again, Jake? What if they get attached, and I just can't meet their needs? They're resilient kids, he said, his voice steadying her fears. Just like their mom. As if sensing her struggle, one of the toddlers called out, reaching for Sarah, and she instinctively leaned down, scooping him into her arms. The child giggled, his innocence breaking through the tension. But Jake noticed Sarah's smile falter for a fraction of a second, and it gnawed at him. He leaned closer, wanting to pull open the layers of doubt that she wrapped around herself like a shield. Hey, it's okay to feel scared. This is new territory for both of us. She looked up at him, her expression a mix of gratitude and vulnerability. I just don't want to lose you again, Jake. The confession bared all the fear, the hope, and an aching sincerity. It settled in his heart, heavy yet freeing, and in that moment, he resolved to be there for her not just as a friend, but as someone willing to draw their own path through the storm. As they sat, surrounded by the chaos of children and the madness of the rainstorm, the air thickened with possibilities. But beneath that, Jake sensed that the hardest question had not yet been asked. Sarah, he began, his voice quiet as the storm raged outside. What if we don't just want to be there for each other? What if we want something more? The statement hung in the air like the rumble of thunder overhead, each word charged with the weight of what was unsaid. Jake's heart pounded as Sarah's eyes widened in surprise. In that fleeting moment, everything seemed to hinge on her response. The weight of Jake's words landed heavily in the air, mingling with the scent of rain and the laughter of children. Sarah's eyes flickered, caught somewhere between surprise and contemplation. The bright lightning followed by the deep rumble of thunder seemed to highlight the tension in the van. More? She repeated, her voice barely above a whisper, as if saying the word out loud made it all too real. Yeah, he said, feeling a rush of urgency. What if we built something new? Not just for you, not just for the kids, but for us? Sarah bit her lip, looking down at her lap, and the atmosphere thickened with uncertainty. Just outside, droplets slid down the foggy window like the thoughts racing through her mind. Could she risk it again? Jake, I don't want to drag you into my chaotic life, she finally replied, her voice trembling slightly. This isn't just about us. I have to think about the kids they've been through so much already. And they'll keep going through more if you put up walls between us, he insisted gently. You're all alone in this, and I don't want you to be. She met his gaze, her green eyes shimmering with something he couldn't quite decipher. Fear? Hope? A mix of both? What if I can't do it? What if it doesn't work out? Then we pick ourselves up and keep going. Together, he replied, his voice steady. I'm not going anywhere, Sarah. I want to help you, help them. But we have to be real with each other. Sarah closed her eyes for a moment, letting out a shaky breath. Moments passed, the only sound the rain tapping insistently against the metal roof. She glanced at her children playing, their innocent laughter punctuating the heavily laced silence. What do you want from me, Jake? She finally asked, her tone softer, inviting. I want you to let me in, he confessed. To trust me again. I want to be a part of this, your team, your family. Is that so crazy? Crazy or brave? She muttered, her fingers nervously toying with the hem of her shirt. I don't know if I have the strength for this again. Then let me carry some of that weight, he said, leaning closer. You've been holding on for so long, why not find some balance with me? Her eyes narrowed, as if battling with herself. I need to know you mean it. That you're not just saying the words because the moment feels right. I get that. I do. His voice was firm, unwavering. But I can't show you I'm serious without a chance to try. For a moment, they sat in silence, the rain a relentless backdrop. Lightning flickered, and he saw hope glimmering in her eyes. Okay, she finally whispered, almost as if she were sizing up an enormous leap of faith. Let us try. But perfect, he interrupted, a smile breaking through the tension. But I need you to understand that they come first. Every time, she emphasized, looking right into his eyes. Her intensity made his heart race even faster. Absolutely, he nodded, knowing well the challenges that lay ahead. It's always been about them for you. The atmosphere suddenly felt lighter, as if a storm had begun to clear. But just as hope grew, doubt began to linger at the edges. What if things didn't go as they imagined? What if their past mistakes bubbled back to the surface? Jake, just promise me that if things get tough, I'm not backing down, he said firmly, squeezing her hand once more. No matter what comes next, we face it together. A smile danced across Sarah's lips, a fragile but beautiful thing. I don't deserve you, she murmured, a mixture of gratitude and disbelief slipping through her voice. Just give it a shot, he urged gently. As the rain began to slow, that small moment of connection ignited a spark of hope and fears intertwined. Jake reassured himself that they could navigate this, whatever this meant. But the genuine path ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty. In that charged silence, he knew they had crossed a threshold, yet what awaited them loomed like dark clouds on the horizon. What happens now? He asked, breathless with the weight of possibility and trepidation. Now, Sarah whispered, her eyes narrowing again with determination, we talk. About what being a family really means, and if we're both ready for that. Jake held his breath, drawn into the gravity of her words, the moment swirling with a blend of dread and excitement. This was just the beginning. What would they uncover next along this winding path? The next day dawned cloudy but peaceful, as if the sun was reluctant to break through the heavy gray. Sarah sat at the kitchen table, her fingers tracing the rim of a coffee mug. Each tentative sip sent warmth radiating through her, a comfort against the uncertainties ahead. The kids were still asleep, curled up in their beds, their innocence untouched by the world's chaos. She stared out the window, the sound of the rain's residual trickle echoing soft reminders of the previous night's conversation with Jake. What did it mean to be a family? Was it simply sharing meals together, or something more profound? The enormity of it all pressed on her chest like a weight. Just then, the front door creaked open. Mom, we're hungry. Ben's excited voice cut through her thoughts, and soon the lively little troop barreled into the kitchen, their energy contagious. Each of her 3 kids, Ben, Lily, and Max, came with their own brand of chaotic joy, their laughter bouncing off the walls. All right, breakfast coming right up, Sarah replied, forcing a smile as she transitioned from deep contemplation to the role of their mother. The morning routine unfolded in a whirl of cereal, fruit, and playful banter. She let herself get swept up in their world, if only for a little while. As she flipped pancakes, she thought about Jake, his promise sitting heavy in the air. Trust was a delicate thing. It could be built up and torn down in an instant. She wanted to believe him, to lean into this new chapter. But the past loomed close, always threatening to drown out the present. Mom, can we go outside after breakfast? Lily asked, her wide blue eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. Only if the rain holds off, Sarah replied, glancing back at the window. The clouds hung low, but a patch of lighter gray gave her a glimmer of hope. After breakfast, they ventured outside. The fresh scent of damp earth greeted them, the promise of new beginnings seeming to cling to the air. The kids giggled as they chased each other around the yard, their feet splashing through the puddles. Sarah watched, heart full yet uncertain, swallowing the tightening in her throat. Suddenly, her phone buzzed against the kitchen counter, breaking her reverie. It was a message from Jake. "Good morning. What about lunch today? I think we could use some time to talk." She stared at the screen. Should she meet him? She toyed with the idea, wondering if it was too soon. Just as doubts settled in, Max appeared, slipping beside her, muddy shoes and all. "Can we get a puppy, Mom?" he asked, his innocence shining through. "Maybe one day," she replied, ruffling his hair, their banter a familiar comfort. But what if getting a puppy was just another step toward opening her heart to the idea of family? In that moment, she made a decision. She would meet Jake. They needed to talk about the future, and her heart raced with both fear and excitement. As she quickly texted back her agreement, she felt a tug in her gut. The path stretched in front of her like the winding road she often drove while talking to herself about hope. Would they truly be ready for the weight of their decisions? The kids were still laughing outside, but Sarah's heart felt heavy again as she considered the upcoming conversation. What if it all unraveled? Yet, as doubt crept in, a flicker of something else emerged, an unshakable feeling that they were on the brink of something essential, something transformative. With a deep breath, she watched the kids play, anchoring her resolve to the laughter that surrounded her. Suddenly, the doorbell rang, startling her out of her thoughts. Startled, she exchanged glances with her children before heading to the door. What awaited her on the other side could change everything. With a hand resting on the doorknob, Sarah hesitated, breath caught in her throat. What would she find when she opened that door? With a shaky breath, Sarah opened the door. Her heart raced as the hinges creaked, revealing a figure she hadn't seen in what felt like a lifetime. Jake stood on her doorstep, his expression a mixture of hope and uncertainty, caught between the past they once shared and the future they were still trying to grasp. "Hey," he said softly, his voice barely above a whisper. "Hey," she replied, momentarily stunned. The weight of his presence wrapped around her, making it hard to breathe. Was this the moment all those worries had led to? "Can we talk?" Jake's eyes searched hers, pleading for a chance. She wasn't sure she could give. A nervous smile tugged at her lips, but she nodded, stepping back to let him in. As Jake walked through the threshold, the atmosphere shifted, charged with unspoken thoughts and lingering memories. The kids continued their chaotic play outside, unaware of the storm brewing just a few feet away. They settled at the kitchen table, the warm smell of pancakes still lingering in the air, mixing with the emotions swirling around them. Sarah poured 2 cups of coffee, both familiar and foreign, and slid one across the table toward him. "So, about lunch," she left the sentence unfinished, words tasting heavy in her mouth. "I know things have been complicated," Jake started, running a hand through his hair in a way that made her heart tug. "But I've thought a lot about what we talked about yesterday, about being a family again." Her chest tightened. "Jake," he cut her off, the urgency of his voice rising unintentionally. "Sarah, please. I know I messed up. I understand if you're angry, if you're scared. But I want to make things right. I want to be there for you and the kids. I want to rebuild. I want to be a father." She held her breath. Did he mean it this time? She remembered all the times he had promised, only to break her heart again. But maybe, just maybe, as she looked into his eyes, she saw a flicker of something that felt genuine. Could he truly change? "Jake, this isn't just about us anymore. It's about the kids." The weight of her words seemed to hang in the air. She watched as he nodded, swallowing hard. "Then let me prove it," he said, his voice steadying a bit. "I want to be there. I'll do whatever it takes." Before she could respond, a loud screech interrupted their weighty conversation. Max burst through the door, his face lit with excitement. "Mom, can we get a puppy?" he asked, his muddy shoes marking a trail on the floor. Jake looked at Max, a small smile creeping on his face. "A puppy sounds fun," he said, glancing at Sarah, gauging her reaction. "Really? See, Mom? Jake thinks it's a good idea," Max exclaimed, bouncing on his toes. Ben and Lily rushed in behind him, curiosity written all over their faces. "Wait, what is going on?" Ben asked, eyeing Jake with a mixture of fascination and skepticism. Sarah's heart sank a little. This wasn't just about her and Jake. It was about the kids' feelings, too. They had a right to know what was happening. She could see the confusion in her children's eyes, tugging at her maternal instincts. "Let us talk about it later, okay? I promise to share everything," she said, her patience warring with her anxiety. "Does that mean we might get a puppy?" Lily chimed in, her eyes wide and hopeful. "Maybe," Sarah replied, forcing a smile and redirecting her thoughts. This belief in a future surged within her, an unexpected beacon amidst her worries. Jake seemed to sense the shifting dynamic. "I'll make sure we have a puppy and help with all the chaos," he promised, this time with conviction. Sarah's heart fluttered. Could they truly build a life together? As laughter filled the kitchen again, the air thick with possibilities, she realized this was only the beginning. A swirl of confusion and hope encircled her heart, leaving her longing for more clarity as the conversation moved back to playful banter over potential puppy names. Sarah's mind drifted to the unknown, lingering on that looming decision she still had to make. But just then, a loud knock interrupted their moment. Jake's eyes met hers, worry etched on his face. "Who could that be?" he asked, tension creeping back in. Feeling a surge of unease, Sarah glanced toward the door. The answer could change everything once more. As Sarah slowly approached the door, her heart pounded like a drum in her chest. She glanced back at Jake, who sat frozen at the table, his expression a mixture of anticipation and dread. The children had paused their chatter, sensing the shift in the room. "Mom, is everything okay?" Max asked, his innocent inquiry cutting through the tension. "Yeah, it's fine, sweetie," she replied, trying to inject some calm in her voice, though she felt anything but at that moment. She took a deep breath, steeling herself. When she opened the door, an unexpected wave of cold air rushed in, mingling with the warmth of the kitchen. Standing on her porch was Mary, their neighbor from 2 houses down. Her cheeks were flushed from the chill, and her wide eyes held a frantic look that sent a jolt of anxiety through Sarah. "Sarah, I'm so sorry to barge in like this," Mary blurted, her breath coming in quick bursts. "It's urgent. Can I come in?" Sure," Sarah stammered, stepping aside, confusion flooding her mind. Mary was a kind woman, always around when things got tough, but what could be so urgent? She glanced back at Jake, who now looked just as bewildered. Just as Mary crossed the threshold, her eyes landed on Jake, and a flicker of surprise passed between them. "Jake, I didn't know you were here," her voice trailed off, and for a moment, the energy in the room shifted like a silent acknowledgement of shared history. "Mary," Jake replied, his tone cautious. "Okay, what is going on?" Sarah asked, concern laced through her words. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Mary took a deep breath, and all of a sudden, the gravity of the situation fell heavily on the room. "I was just at the community center, and, I overheard something." There's been a development, she hesitated, looking for the right words, and Sarah felt her heart spike with apprehension. The children were now whispering among themselves, peeking over the kitchen island, their curiosity palpable. "What is it, Mom?" Lily asked, her voice tinged with confusion. Finally, Mary spoke, her words tumbling out in a rush. "It's about your ex. There's a chance he has 6 children, not just the 2 that are in town." "Sarah, they said he has been hiding it, but it's true. 6 babies, all bore at once." The room erupted into silence, and Sarah felt the world around her shatter. 6 children? The enormity of the revelation pressed down on her, her mind racing. What did this even mean for them? "Wait, what?" Jake's voice cracked as he processed the news. "That's not possible. I mean, is this a prank?" But the look on Mary's face told them it was no joke. "Why would he hide that?" Ben asked, wide-eyed, glancing between Sarah and Jake. "What does it mean for us?" Sarah felt queasy, but also a strange surge of protective energy for her family. "I don't know yet," she said, her resolve building. "But we need to find out. This changes everything." Jake stared at Mary, disbelief reigning over him. "You need to be sure, Mary. This could cause so much chaos." Mary nodded, but her eyes held a depth of concern. "How would T come here unless I was certain? The community is talking. We need to talk to him. He can't keep running away from his past." As the kids continued to glance nervously between the adults, the realization hit Sarah. If they didn't confront this situation now, it would spiral into something uncontrollable. "We'll talk to him together," she decided, taking a deep breath, her heart pounding with apprehension and purpose. Jake looked at her, a flicker of determination flashing across his face. "Right? Together." But as they exchanged determined glances, Sarah's mind began to wonder. What kind of man could keep such a secret? What did he want with the 6 lives he'd never known? And suddenly, she felt a gnawing worry blossom in her heart. Unthinkable choices lay ahead, and the decisions they made now would determine their family's fate. As Jake and Mary started to make plans, Sarah wondered what awaited them when they finally confronted the man that had once held their hearts and how many lives hung in the balance. The air felt heavy as Sarah tried to process everything that had just been revealed. She glanced at her children, who still peeked curiously from around the countertop, oblivious to the giant shadow that loomed over their family. Max and Lily looked innocent, kids just wanting to know why the adults were suddenly tight-lipped, sharing worried glances. "Okay, everyone, how about we step into the living room?" Sarah suggested, her voice coming out steadier than she felt. "Let us sit down and talk." As the family gathered on the sofa, the atmosphere was fraught with tension. Jake sat close to her, their knees almost touching, reassuring her with his presence. His hand found hers, giving it a gentle squeeze. It was the simple comfort she needed, an anchor in a storm threatening to sweep them all away. Mary took a seat across from them, her demeanor calm but serious. "I know this is a lot to take in," she began, her voice measured. "But it's important we stay focused. This affects not just you, Sarah, but the children as well." "What do we do?" Ben asked, his youthful curiosity clashing with the gravity of the situation. "Should we go find him now?" The question hung in the air, pregnant with possibility and dread. Sarah felt her stomach twist at the thought. What would they even say to him? "I think we need to prepare ourselves first," Jake interjected, his brow furrowed in thought. "We should figure out what we want from him. Do we seek answers, or do we want him to take responsibility?" "I don't know if he is capable of that," Sarah replied, her voice barely more than a whisper. "He never really took responsibility for anything before." Mary nodded empathetically. "I understand your concern, but if he really does have 6 children, all born at once, he owes it to them, and to you, to explain himself." Sarah glanced at her kids again. Max's innocent eyes, filled with confusion, mirrored her own uncertainty. "What if he doesn't want to see us? What if he refuses to acknowledge anything?" Jake's grip tightened on her hand. "Then we have to be ready for that, too. We don't even know what kind of person he is now. He could have changed, or he could have just hidden further into his darkness." "Can people really change?" Lily asked quietly, her voice soft and uncertain, stealing the attention back to the gravity of beliefs they held about people and forgiveness. "Sometimes, yes," Sarah acknowledged, choking down the knots in her throat. "But other times, the things that haunt them can keep them from ever becoming the person they should be." Mary shifted in her seat, trying to add some hope to the conversation. "You have the power in your hands now. The only way to know for sure is to confront him. Maybe this is a chance to break a cycle, to turn pain into something transformative." Sarah sensed the tension, the weight of decisions yet to be made. She took a deep breath, the air thick in her lungs. All her instincts screamed for caution, but a flicker of determination ignited within her. "All right, we'll do it. We'll confront him. Together. What if he pushes away?" Ben voiced the fear bouncing around the room. "Then we will figure it out. We're a family, and we'll face whatever comes. But first, we need to gather more information." As she said the words, Sarah felt a rush of resolve settle over her. She knew they had to arm themselves for whatever confrontation lay ahead. Just then, a thought hit Sarah. "Wait, Mary, do you know where he is? Do you know how we can find him?" Mary paused, her expression shifting to a contemplative one. "I might have a lead, but it comes with risks." Sarah could feel her heart race as she leaned in closer, desperate to hear the next piece of this unfolding story. What risks would they have to face to seek the answers they so desperately needed? Mary took a deep breath, her gaze steady as she prepared to divulge whatever knowledge she held. I think I know where he might be staying. It's a friend's place on the other side of town, but I can't promise it'll be easy. If he is hiding from the world, it may not go well. The gravity of her words settled like a weight in the room. The children, sensing the shift, quieted down, their eyes flickering from Mary to their mother. Are you sure about this? Jake asked, his voice low and cautious. What if we walk into something we're not ready for? But Sarah's heart surged with determination. This was their chance. No more running from our past. We need to face it together. Her voice had an edge of resolve that resonated within the group, igniting a shared sense of purpose. Mary nodded, acknowledging Sarah's strength. I'll drive. With the kids in tow, it might be better if you're not alone. Kids, listen up, Sarah said, standing a little taller. We might be going to meet someone today, and I want you to remember that we are a family. No matter what happens, we stick together. The kids exchanged glances, feeling the seriousness of the moment. Okay, Mom, Ben replied, trying to adopt a facade of bravery. Yeah, family power, Max exclaimed, eager for some adventure. Even if this one felt heavy with uncertainty as they piled into the car, Sarah felt a shift, a unity forming. Maybe this was what the notion of family was all about, standing together through thick and thin. The drive felt surreal, the scenery flashing by in a blur of colors that seemed to reflect the emotional storm brewing inside Sarah. The closer they got, the more her heart raced, doubt creeping back in like the shadows at dusk. What would they encounter? Who had the man become since the dust of their past settled? Arriving at the location, the house loomed before them unassuming, almost ordinary, but somehow dreadful. Mary parked the car, and a hush fell over everyone. Deep breath, everyone, Sarah urged, mustering a smile to ease the tension. They stepped out into the chilly air, and she could almost feel the electricity crackle around them. This was the moment. This was do or die. With Jake beside her, they approached the door, feeling the weight of the children's trust behind them. Sarah knocked, her heart thundering. Each second felt like an eternity, but finally, the door creaked open. There he stood, older, but the familiar features were unmistakable. Can I help you? He asked, confusion lining his brow. Brian, Sarah breathed, feeling her heart plummet. We need to talk. For a fleeting moment, she looked into his eyes and searched for the lost connection of their shared past. But that flicker of familiarity was overshadowed by unresolved pain and lost time. What is this about? He asked, glancing at Jake, then at the children peeking around her. As he tracked their presence, his confusion deepened. Sarah steadied herself, every ounce of courage surging within her. It's about the 6 children you have, she said, her voice steady but firm. You can't keep hiding. Brian's eyes widened, surprise morphing into defensiveness. What children? The anger boiled inside Sarah. Stop lying. I know you have 6 kids. You're not just running away anymore. The children shuffled closer, curiosity warring with fear, and she heard Lily whisper, "What is going on, Mom?" With renewed clarity and resolve, she turned back to Brian. Those kids deserve to know you. They need to understand who you are. You can't ignore your responsibilities anymore. For a moment, he seemed taken aback, perhaps even remorseful. The tension lingered, suffocating and thick, but also felt charged with hope, an opportunity for change, for growth, for redemption. I never intended for this to happen, he stammered, yet his words fell flat against the weight of their reality. No, you didn't, Jake interjected, stepping forward. But you can't keep denying what's real. Be a father for once. Sarah looked at her children, their faces a mixture of anticipation and fear, her heart swelling with the courage they all shared. We want to understand. But you need to be honest, Brian. For them. Brian looked torn, wrestling with the shadows of the past and the responsibility of his present. I don't know how to be a father, he finally admitted, his voice breaking with sincerity. You can start now, she urged, her voice softening. You have 6 lives that need you. Don't hide anymore. His expression softened, maybe even cracked. I never wanted this, but I can try. That moment hung in the air, heavy yet transformative, as their shared pain and new ambitions coiled together, the possibility of healing glimmering like a beacon for a new beginning. Suddenly, there was a spark of understanding, a hope that maybe they could navigate through the complicated past and build something different, something real if Brian was willing to show up. Sarah felt the shift within her. It wasn't just about anger or obligation anymore. It was about weaving threads of restoration and establishing a family that could embrace imperfections. They had taken a leap, and she knew this was the beginning of something beautiful, forged in hope and enduring connections. As they turned away from the past. Hand in hand, she felt the warmth of her children's presence envelop her, and her heart brimmed with quiet resolve. This was it. A long path lay ahead, but they would face it together. The weight of their journey no longer dragged them down. Instead, it lifted them into brighter days as the sun broke through the clouds, a promise hanging in the air, washing everything clean with rays of hope. If you love this story and want more emotional upheaval, gripping transformations, and heartwarming connections, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the magic alive. Comment with your thoughts and reactions about this powerful ending. I want to hear how this touched you. And please, share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this authentic transformation. Don't wait, not even one more second. True fans know the importance of keeping this journey alive.